the button, pressing the follow-up button. We should be streaming, and you should be tweeted.
Look at that, a notification.
There it is. There it is. All right, we are live on the stream. High Wheels in the chat room. Are you out there? Are you liking the new chat room? Let me know.
The new chat room rocks.
Let me know in said chat room. Oh, went live over there. Although I don't see you in all of everywhere that I have the chat room. So that's really disconcerting. Everybody had a, everybody hated the last chat room when I had to replace it.
It was horrible.
It's YouTube's.
It's horrible.
I did like the idea that like the people that found us on YouTube were in the same chat room that like you guys were. Nope, apparently not. Apparently not gonna happen. All right, I'm like,
what's not gonna happen?
The sameness of the chat rooms. I'm also not the one using it, so. Okay.
That's it. Push it off on everyone else. It's the American way.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I'm in a mood today.
Kim, are we going to have a Uber discussion for your awesome thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I have that, and also, yeah, the Mr. Robot win an Emmy is pretty awesome.
I need to. I need to get into Mr. Robot. I'm like 3 episodes in and never went back.
Oh.
And then my wife just got me into Penny Dreadful, so I'm having all kinds of stuff going on.
Oh God, that
show. Conflict.
Oh, there's too much good happening. And then I need to catch up with the last season and a half of Walking Dead that just went on Netflix. I know. And then you know what I'm doing? So there's this wrestling program that the people have been very, very nice to us about, and I haven't been able to catch up with it because I don't have cable and I don't want to steal it. So I just bought the first season. I want to buy the second season, and I want to marathon it amongst the next 3 Mondays to make up for it. That's my penance. But we're going to make a fun event out of it. So, all right, let's do a show. All right. Hey guys, it is the AwesomeCast episode 317 where we talk tech, get geeky. I'm Mike Sorgat, Sorgatron on Twitter here in the Mayhem Studio in Pittsburgh, PA. And I got a wonderful crew digitally joining me here tonight for a fun time. First of all, let's start with Kim Lyons joins us on the show. Kim, I don't even know what you do these days.
A lot of people say that to me. Little Jack freelance writing for whoever will have me, and keeping an eye on Uber and what they're up to in the Steel City. That's
right. If anybody wants more about what she's into and what she likes here in town, we actually talked to her a few months back on the Awesome Chat. So go check that out. And also with us, Cynthia Klosky at Shift Collaborative. Again, not entirely sure what you do over there, but I'm sure it's amazing.
It is amazing. It's great to be here. So at Shift, I'm a partner, which actually I guess doesn't really say very much. But we're a digital agency. You know, we do marketing, digital ads, real life ads, events, all sorts of good stuff. And I oversee aspects of that.
That's right. I have some fun doing a little bit of a food project with you guys currently, so it's a lot of fun. But anyways, with us also the our replacement gadget guru for the week, since Chilla's not here, and he's so. Ron, I hope this doesn't come out as bad as I think it's going to. He's not up to. He's so the low rent gadget guru. He can't even fix his lights by asking Siri.
That's right. I cannot ask Siri to turn on my lights.
He is the gadget guru that does not live in the future like Chilla does. He is planted firmly right here with the rest of us.
Just living the dream.
Thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, this is the AwesomeCast. You can check us out at awesomecast.net. Got some great stuff over there. You can subscribe to this show on video and audio versions, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and then video versions over on the Facebook and the YouTube. Experimenting a little bit with Facebook Live this past week, and I might poke at it a little bit more here later this week. So let us know how you like that. Just a little bit of awesome thing of the days. Videos that we've been trying to do a little bit. And of course, the awesome chat has returned. Great discussion last week with Buzzy and Nick of both the Epicast and Black Forge Coffee House, doing some great things up there in the Allentown neighborhood. That's there. We're talking to MetaMesh, that's also working out of Allentown. MetaMesh we talked about a long time ago when Josh Lucas joined us to talk about Work Hard Pittsburgh like years ago. So it's cool to see how they're progressing as well. Also, you can join us here live at our new home, live.awesomecast.net. That's right, a dedicated page, because it's long overdue. Its own chat room. You don't have to worry about those wrestling guys hanging out before the show and everything. Actually, they're going to hang out anyways. But you can go over there for any of our streaming AwesomeCast events in the future. So again, live.awesomecast.net. Bookmark that, and we'll be embedding whatever the live stream is for the evening. And also a big thanks to our Patreon supporters, including Mike Fedor, who is joining us. Look, I got graphics for the Patreon people this week. We're upgrading this. We're upgrading. That's where your money's gone. We made a graphic. $5 level at Mike Fedor Show on the Twitters, and he's doing some great content over there as well. Thank you so much for joining us. You can support the show at patreon.com/awesomecast and make it a fan-supported show as we grow and do more awesome things. Some great awesome interviews getting lined up and scheduled as well for the other show. So let's get into, almost forgot, another awesome place is riversedgepgh.com. We're here live streaming on there. Well, no, we're not live. Our file of this show is live streaming over there, 8 a.m. Thursday mornings after Funny Money, and of course we're going to be doing the pod crawl with them in the Millvale area on September 30th. So go over to riversedgepgh.com for more information on that and join the AwesomeCast live. All right, now let's get into our awesome things of the week. Let's start with Kraus, because he just put Google photo. Like, there's one Google photo that he's excited about, apparently.
No, this morning I took a picture. I saw something that I thought was interesting. It happens to be the fountain outside of the building I work in downtown. And later that afternoon, as you know, I guess it's not recent now. It's 4 months or so ago. I left my beloved Microsoft phone by the wayside and switched over to my Android. And I got a notification that Google Photos had stylized one of my pictures. And so I took a look at it, and I think I actually liked it more than I liked the actual original photo.
There it is.
Now, I posted it to Facebook, and I've had 2 critics so far. 2 friends of mine have posted. Chill is one of them. And they had their own comments to make.
Wait.
I kind of like what it did.
Chilla's comment is, I think the bottom pic has too much noise. Tell Google to soften it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you have to read my comment, because I started it by saying thanks, Google, and so of course he's telling me to tell Google to soften it. So.
There you go. Yeah, I love it. I love, sometimes it gets a little funky and noisy like that. And I actually saw this in my stream earlier, and it did catch my eye. And I'm like, why are the pictures like, I'm not stopping to read anything on my feed apparently. But no, yeah, it is pretty interesting. Now, have you had I had some photos, and it made a slideshow video and maybe a little bit of video uploaded kind of out of that. Like I've just said, yeah, that pretty much represents my day, and I just posted everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, the only things I've really had so far that I've taken a bunch of pictures is we took a trip to Geneva on the Lake. And so it kind of took all those pictures from that weekend and condensed it into a little movie that I've shared with the wife and a couple of the people that were on the trip with us. But that's about it. Nothing that I've really posted anywhere. This was the first picture I thought, oh, that's kind of neat, Mm-hmm. And I didn't really have much of an awesome thing this week, so...
No, that's
I guess
great.
It's a semi-awesome thing of the week.
That's great. Nokia is putting out a new phone. They just announced today.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know nothing else about it. I can't It didn't even look like
Yeah.
Windows Phone when I looked at the picture. So I don't know
Well,
what
I
they did
heard
over there.
a buddy of mine at the office. I didn't get to see the article yet because I asked him for the link and he left before he could give it to me. He said he read somewhere that Microsoft has abandoned all Windows Phone. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he's told me. So
It is, yeah. Windows has unveiled a new Nokia phone, and this is what it looks like. It's the Nokia 216 dual SIM. It is, it says here about announcing that it is selling its feature phone business to FIH Mobile, which is part of Foxconn, and there you go.
there you go.
It's actually a feature phone. It's not like a smartphone. Apparently, it's just a straight feature phone. Like it's like a slim candy bar phone.
Yeah, Nokia did very well in that market for a very, very, very long time.
Oh yeah, we all had Nokia phones with Snake on it, right? That was our first foray into cellular mobile gaming. So
yes, it was.
All right, Cynthia, what is your awesome thing of the week?
My awesome thing, it's not a new thing to the rest of the world maybe, but it's a new thing to me. I've been using my iPad Pro I'm like trying to make the change from being a paper-based person to being a, I don't know, bits-based person. And it's hard, so I wanted to practice. And so I've been using this app, Paper and Pencil, and I've been like doing drawings and things to kind of, get used to the feel of the pencil and things on it, on the screen. And it is amazingly fun. Like suddenly I understand this whole color book craze. You know what I mean? People coloring to kind of calm down at the end of the day. So I've been doodling. I've been posting the things every night on Twitter, the little drawings I've been doing. I did a whole apple series.
Drawing apples, yeah. Pretty cool.
And it's been amazing. It's been so fun. So, and this particular app, Paper and Pencil, in addition to letting you do drawings where you can, mix your colors, you can use it as though it's a pencil, a pen, watercolor, all that good stuff. But it also has some very cool little gadgety things where you can make diagrams. If you draw something roughly triangle shaped, it becomes a nice triangle. And so you can do workflow diagrams and other kinds of type and notes and things. So it's pretty versatile those ways too. Mostly I'm using it for drawings, but this way I feel like I can excuse it for work.
And you're using a straight Apple Pencil in conjunction with this, right?
I am. I adore it. I love it. It's the best thing ever.
That's awesome. So Paper is an app that I know I used a little bit, just kind of playing around with it, like on the Apple 3, or I'm sorry, the iPad 3, and it just wasn't really powerful enough to it just kind of lagged behind a little bit, right, by the time I got to it. But that's awesome that there's actually like a tool, like I imagine it takes complete advantage of the pencil's features.
It does. You've got, sort of all the pressure and so on, depending on which of the different devices you use. Like if you push hard with the pencil, it's going to do different than if you push hard with the watercolor pen, brush or something else. So you've got, it's nice that it's smart enough to, sense the differences there. But also, Pen 53, I think is the name of the company that makes it. They sell their own stylus, which I also purchased, and thought that it would work best with it. And I don't like it nearly as well as I like the Apple. Mm-hmm. The Apple Pen, is it's more responsive. It gets right back at you, whether you're using it even on this app that I would assume is supposed to be designed for this other tool.
Well, I think it is probably more or less just a stylus, right? Like it's a really fancy wooden stylus from the looks of it here in their.
No, the end of it. Oh, there's more to it, and also it's smart. Let me grab it out of here. It's smart. The one thing that's nicer about it, this is it right here. And so it's got like the tip of it comes out. You charge it by pulling this thing out and pushing it in a USB. Mm-hmm. And this side of it has a feel too, so you can erase with more texture. So if you've synced this with the app and you're using this with the app, you can do things like smudge with your finger. So if there's certain things that probably would be better if you're to use this if you're doing drawing. But I found that, like even just doing a line, the Apple one works. Like I can get more precise with it than I can with this. So,
right.
So would this take you down the so-called paperless road? Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, why I'm doing this is that for work, I have meetings with clients and I take all these notes and then they sit in my little paper notebook and go nowhere. And I've got a whole team of people who need to know what happened at these meetings. And so my thought is, I can either take my paper notebook and like hand it to someone in some sort of like a manager underling kind of a way and say, transcribe this for me. And that felt stupid. So I didn't want to do that. And so my goal instead with this is I don't even have to scan it. I just have to say, make this a PDF, upload it to Drive, and then everyone can see it if they need to. So it's not so much that I need the paperless, but that other people need to know what I know.
Okay.
And this is something we've tried solving before because I know I got Missy, and again, it's not something that really caught on. But saying again, we had were older iPads, so maybe it just wasn't going to, and she's not going to use her phone for it. The one that had like the sensor that you put like on top of the iPad, so that it would take care of that. I can't remember the name of it. We have the review over on the AwesomeCast page if you want to check that out. But it's nice that we have something that's kind of a little more straightforward, like the Apple Pencil versus those other options. So. Mm-hmm. So I saw something today that so the Viewfind was something that we've had interesting. I've been interested in for a while. I actually have a note. And this was originally because it was on pre-order and I was kind of waiting. I have a note that I keep punting every month that says, should I get a Viewfind yet? And the Viewfind is think of Google Glass, except it is just basically a display that can connect to your camera or your smartphone and throw that image just in front of your face a little bit. And I'm looking at it for my videographers or doing video. Like I was having problems out in the middle of the sun. It's hard to see the LCD on a camera, but I still need to keep my head up because I have cars whizzing by me, and I want to make sure that I'm safe. So I thought this might be a pretty cool display thing, and we pontificated on the usefulness of Pokemon Go along with this, and it looks like Viewfind had this same idea because they released a video, Viewfind plus Pokemon Go, and it's kind of a little product video they have going on, and they do a little bit of this is what it's like to play Pokemon Go on here, so you can look around and just walk around and see. Because, I mean, if you have it in your pocket, you don't get to see, like, exactly what's popping up as far as what Pokemon or what Pokestops that you're coming across. So now it kind of makes it a little more interactive, in your face kind of a situation, and safe. You get to look around. It's not really obstructing your vision as much. I know it kind of looks like because it's in front of his eyeball. But I can tell you from Google Glass, like there really wasn't much peripheral adjustment there. Like I felt it's perfectly safe driving with it. So as long as this positions in a pretty similar way, and they have color ones now, so you can match your Pokemon team, I guess. So that's a pretty cool use of that. Now this is kind of a side thing, but Cindy, you had posted. Something else that's coming up here. I know we've mentioned it before, but it's finally getting a release date.
Yeah, so I haven't. I'm all echoey there. I haven't entered the Pokemon Go world, but I have people that I ask about it, and I asked them what was new there these days. And there's this device that I guess you say has been like teased for a while, but finally is available for the low price of $35, and that's Pokemon Go Plus. And so I guess with this, like you say, you've talked about it before. It'll buzz as you're near things, and then to press a button. You can pick up stuff from all the stops, or you can basically take a stab at grabbing whatever Pokemon critter is there beside you. And so it seems like it's like super convenient if you don't actually want to play Pokemon Go, but for some reason have to, I guess is my best interpretation.
Like it's for the I'll play Pokemon. It is interesting because it is like you get your steps, because I have to have my phone on and in my pocket in order to walk my Charmander, because that's a thing I can do now. Got my first candy from him today. I see you laughing over there, Ron. But it's a big battery drain, so it kind of like supplants that, so you don't have to have it kind of running at full full clock on your phone and training that out. But yeah, the whole like you hit the button and it'll let you know if you're successful getting a Pokemon is kind of like, well, that kind of defeats. I don't know how that works. Like are they expending my Pokeballs in order to do that? My raspberry stash I have way too many raspberries, and my bag keeps getting full, and I can't get new stuff that actually is useful. But can I sell my raspberries? Ron, do you want my raspberries?
Sell potions. I sell them all. I keep ultras. That's it. Dump everything else.
That's it. I see how it is. But anyways, I don't know. You can actually sell items in there.
Yeah, you can sell them from the inventory slots. Or maybe it's not sell them; it's delete them. I don't know, but whatever it is, I can get rid of a lot of stuff.
All right, hey Rob,
I just don't use it.
You might need to reconnect. We're getting a little bit of the weird silencing going on.
All right.
So, but anyways, no, I think it's I don't know if I'm as excited about this as I was Pokemon Go on the Apple Watch so much, because that actually I was playing with there are some Pokemon Go Pebble Watch apps, like one that'll actually tell me like okay, you're fighting this thing, this is what's good against it, like the whole like water versus fire and all that kind of stuff. So so I got a little like kind of Pokemon strategy guide on my wrist now, so we'll see how it goes when I go up against my next gym. So I was battling a couple downtown today too. So all right, wait, Kim, I need to prepare for this next part and put on my media pass. Right.
Here, let me tell you, I still have mine, even though I probably have like hundreds of those. It's not as cool when you have like a whole bunch of them, but I guess maybe for you it is.
Well, I don't listen. I have like Comic-Con media passes and stuff like that, and but I have not until last week, and we had a because there was an embargo, so we cut the stream and we recorded a little bit for you guys at the end of the last show. My initial impressions of riding in an Uber. I actually just found today they did post the videos that I did for them over at Mashable into a nice piece. So I shared that over the AwesomeCast Facebook page group today actually. So, but Kim, you got a ride in it too.
Yeah, I did, and they let me actually get behind the wheel.
Yes,
which was like, yeah, I expected to get in the car and there was going to be no one in the driver's seat. Like I didn't expect to be alone in the car. But I mean, you get in and there's someone in the driver's seat, and I was like, well, are you going to take me to the driverless car, or is this it? So obviously it's not quite safe enough for it to be totally driverless. And I guess, there's laws and stuff that you can't really have that yet. So, but yeah, when they told me they were going to let me drive it, I was terrified and also really excited. Of course, I wanted to do it. And so you sit behind the wheel, and the funniest part to me was they have all this tech, and it's all souped up, and you've got a dashboard with, all your Uber stuff telling you whether you're in driver mode or driverless mode. There's a big red kill switch, so in case something goes wrong, you have to go back to like headquarters. So it's definitely a futuristic car, even though it's still a Ford Focus. But I had to manually adjust the side mirrors because they had souped up all the electronics so much that these side mirrors wouldn't like adjust from within the car. So I had to like manually adjust the mirrors, which I thought was a little bit amusing. But then once we're off, it was interesting because I guess I have heard, perhaps I'm a little bit of an aggressive driver. I grew up in Boston. That's where I learned to drive. So we're all massholes there. So the way the car was driving was like really, really safe. Like it was obviously a very pre-planned route. Like Uber had done this route and mapped it out, so, well in advance of letting anyone get in the car. And it knew when to slow down from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. And it knew when to slow down for a stop sign. It knew when to put the signal on to take a right. And so it was like a super safe car to the point where it almost felt, like a new driver. Like when you first learn to drive, you don't know to ease your foot down on the brake. You kind of stomp the brake. You don't know that you don't have to put your, this turn signal on 10 minutes before you make your turn. It's doing those kinds of things, right? And then we came to a four-way stop sign, and my car was taking a right, and a car was approaching. We weren't going to cross paths, but as soon as the Uber car senses a car in proximity, it slams on the brakes. And you can see that as one, that's a very super safe thing to do, but also if there had been someone behind me, that could have been a problem, right? That could have been a little bit problematic because other drivers have expectations when you set your signal on. So it's like the car is still learning how to drive, or learning how to be a driver, maybe, that it doesn't have the personality of a driver, who has confidence and understands that other people can interpret the signals. And, we're all kind of in this driving thing together. And the other thing that I noticed, it held really close to the double yellow line in the middle of the road, closer than I do anyway, which made me a little bit nervous, although there was a truck that kind of got over the line and it swerved pretty quickly to get out of the way. So it wasn't like it was dangerous, but it just was like one of those things that when you've been driving for a long time, you kind of expect the car to behave a certain way when you're behind the wheel. It's almost like being in a car with a driver that maybe you don't know that well, or that, you're not super confident in their driving abilities. But it was very interesting, to say the least. I think it's a little bit ways away from where we're all going to be able to just hop in one at a time. But it was really cool. I mean, as much as I sort of am skeptical of, giant mega conglomerate companies, it was a really cool, thing to be part of and to watch, and, just to be in with all this insane technology and the lasers on the roof and the whole thing. It was just really, I am in the future in a car. So it was very much my awesome thing of the week for sure.
It sounds like you had a more adventurous drive than we did when we went.
Perhaps it was because I was really trying to butter up the two guys in the car with me, like the tech and the driver. Like I was trying to get as much information out of them as I could without, them having to be, taken in a back room and questioned or something because they give away secrets. But it was interesting. The whole time you're sitting there, the passenger seat, there's the technician who's got a laptop out, and he's still mapping it. They're still sort of mapping the route and making sure, okay, yes, it stopped at the stop sign that time, or, it slowed down to 25 when it was in the 25-mile-an-hour zone. So he was focused on that the entire time, which if you get to be one of the people who hails an Uber and you get the driverless Uber, possibility, there will be someone in the driver's seat. You're not going to have a driverless car completely. And there will be, I believe there's also going to be another technician in there helping to map the routes. And they're only doing it within a certain number of streets in the downtown, like right around the Strip area, near sort of the Uber Advanced Technology Center, which is in the Strip. So it's not going to be for everyone. It's not going to be for, just if you pick up the Uber app today, you're probably not going to get on the list because I think it's for people who've experienced Uber before, who are a little bit more familiar with how it works. But it's definitely, you can see the potential for sure. And you can see the need for always having a driver in the driver's seat for sure. Because, at one point we're stuck behind a truck that has his flashers on, he's stopped, parked illegally. And the car doesn't know to go around this guy. The car's just waiting for him to move. So I had to take the wheel and kind of go around and, I didn't flip the guy off, but, that's probably would have been within the realm of what a normal driver would do. But it's those kind of things where the car it's really smart, but it's not experienced, so it's really very much like when you're in driver's ed school and you're, still learning how to get used to being behind the wheel.
Every article that I've read so far has cited an example about that, getting stuck behind a double parked truck. It's always a double parked truck for some reason.
Yeah.
And then I read all these articles. I'm like, did Uber set that up so we would all get stuck behind that same double parked truck? Was that an Uber plant?
Over on Penn Avenue, right? Over on Penn Avenue?
No, it was on 33rd as we were coming back to the Advanced Technology Center.
I think it's just that the Strip District is the land of the double parked truck.
Right, because no one knows where you're allowed to park and not park, right? So,
right.
Or people are just jerks.
Well, maybe. They're in a hurry.
Is it maybe still part of the whole machine learning thing where the cars are literally a student driver? Because what you described is what I experienced teaching my children to drive.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty much
that's what I saw in my head as you were talking about it. So is it partly that?
I think
it's still learning.
It's teaching, it's learning how to drive, learning how to be a driver, because it knows how the mechanics of driving, but it's learning to be a driver. And I said to one of the Uber people after the trip, I said, you're going to have to adapt each car for the city it's in because it doesn't know how to take a Pittsburgh left, and in Boston, we don't yield signs are people ignore them completely. So how do you sort of train the car to have the personality of the city that it's in? Obviously New York drivers are a lot more aggressive. I think it would be funny to try and teach the car how to do a Pittsburgh left, see how it would handle that. But it's that thing with other drivers on the road. That's where your danger is, right? That they have expectations when you have your turn signal on, or they have expectations, when you come to a stop sign, you come to a yellow light, what you're going to do, and maybe the car doesn't know those nuances or those sort of subtler points of driving and being an experienced driver.
Certainly.
It's even more true when you go from country to country. Like, people don't know why it is that I happen to have had this experience, but I've had several people from Cuba drive me around, and they all are the scariest drivers I've ever. And so I don't know what it is about Cuba, and maybe it's not Cuba, maybe it's something else, but these women were all frightening. And so it would be, so from country to country, perhaps it's even more different.
Yeah, I would think so. And, I would think the personalities, of the country should, I don't know how you work that into the algorithm. How do you teach the car that, other than just experience and being in the city? And I wonder if the cars are that smart that they can, learn the personality of the other drivers in the city. Because I think that's going to be important. I mean, it's funny, but also, there's expectations of other drivers on the road. Like, when you come to a stop sign, you can take a right turn on red. There's in some cities, but not all cities. So I think knowing how other drivers drive is important to being on the road. And I think that's probably something they're going to have to work into the algorithm, or teach the cars how to adapt in that way.
Until there's like a critical mass of these cars that we're all learning then we start to adapt to them, maybe. In my hometown up in Butler, if two people come to a stop sign at roughly the same time, very often one of the person who really has the right of way will just sit there and wave the other person on. And like, what if the Uber doesn't see that?
Right. Well, and there's an interesting ethical argument too, right? That the driverless car. I don't want to keep saying Uber, because it's not just Uber that is developing this technology. They just happen to be the ones who are doing it in Pittsburgh. But the driverless car is programmed to protect itself and its passengers. What if you come up to a situation where you can either hit a family of four, run them over, or hit a brick wall? The human driver picks a brick wall because you don't want to run over the family of four, but does the car know to do that? Does the car say this is a greater risk to the person inside the car and to the car itself? It's sort of those ethical questions that, those are very thorny, and I don't know how you machine learn that ethical questions. How do you deliberately put yourself in danger, knowing that it's the possibility you could be seriously injured, but you don't want to run over people in a crosswalk. So,
and what's interesting about that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That kind of an ethical question, comes up a lot when you think about, there's a lot of experiments about it, where if people are, considering that and they're not involved in one way, they answer one way, and if you are involved, you answer a different way. And so you could be pissed in your car that the car is doing the thing that you otherwise earlier in the day, abstractly thought was the right thing.
Right. Yeah. So that's an interesting sort of side thing. I think that, as these cars become more well developed, and Uber even has, they have this sort of first gen, they're all Ford Focus models, and they have that obvious, giant apparatus on the roof of the car. There's no mistaking it for anything but an Uber driverless car. And then they have a deal with Volvo as well, where the top apparatus is much sleeker and much more streamlined. And it almost just looks like a roof rack that you would put bikes in, but it's has some lights and some lasers on it, but it's much more streamlined. And so when those start rolling out, it will be interesting because, as you're driving down the street in this thing, people are staring and pointing, and, it's definitely a conversation piece. And I wonder how, distracting it is for other drivers to see on the road. Everyone's pulling out their phone and take a picture of you. So I think the real sort of integration will start happening when, the more streamlined versions of the cars start hitting the roads and being, sort of, they acclimate a little bit better than maybe the current models.
Well, I think that though that big apparatus is a marketing tool, not just for the companies that are creating these things, but also for the technology.
Sure.
So the more that we see them and see, oh, that car is not killing anyone,
Sure.
the more we'll all begin to trust it slowly.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a very good point. It definitely, no one is going to mistake you in a driverless Uber for anything but a driverless Uber.
I wonder sometimes if they built it a little bigger than they needed to for that reason.
Yeah, well, size matters and all that. Perhaps make it a little more ostentatious.
Yeah, the explanation when they did the media day was that the current version that you see the pictures of everywhere is their desktop computer. The Volvo is going to be the laptop, like the svelter version of it, and the next one's going to be like the smartphone, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
and there's like and even like the Volvo. I don't know if you got a chance to see the Volvo rendition that they have. Like it's less cameras, but
Yes.
still does all the same stuff.
Yeah, yeah, which is interesting. Like it's definitely you can see it blending in much more easily, unless it has an Uber like logo on the side of it. You can definitely see that one blending into traffic much more easily than the current model.
And it felt like at least experiencing from taking the ride in it, like it seemed very. It felt like a really spiffy cruise control. Right?
Yes, and that's really essentially at this point. That's really what it is, right? It's cruise control. It's controlling a few more things than your pedals and your acceleration. It's controlling your signals and your steering wheel and your brakes. But yeah, that's essentially it's advanced cruise control. At any time you can take over, and start steering or hit the brake or hit the accelerator. But yeah, it was very much that feeling. And then I was talking to the guys like, do people like want to just start texting and let the car drive? Because I see that sort of, the anti-texting while driving, rules are, start go by the wayside as we become, more, these become used more, and people will just, not pay attention to the road as much. As we're going to have that whole problem again where people aren't paying attention. So, because you do have to keep an eye on the road. Obviously, you're still, have to be available. It's not like you can just conk out and sleep, while the ar drives you around. At least not yet.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting. So did you? I got one more question. So were you very hands on the wheel like the Uber drivers were?
In fact, I had my hands like resting on the bottom of the wheel, and at one point the guy was like, "Can you actually put your hands more on?" Because I was trying to like keep them in my lap and not have them on the wheel at all. But the guy was like, "Can you put them just rest them on the wheel? It would make us feel better."
see, my reporter. The reporter I was with just like, put him in her lap going up that road by the Heinz factory. And I'm just like, all right, I guess we're good with this.
All being recorded anyway, so if anything goes wrong, at least there's evidence.
yeah, there was that too. Because I was like, I'm rolling this whole time. I just we're just rolling with this. But no, it was really interesting. So, well, we'll see how it goes. I love that Pittsburgh. I was telling, ironically, a Uber driver yesterday because they had the Steelers deal since they won. Yeah. You got a discount yesterday. I was like, I love Pittsburgh's becoming like San Francisco a little bit. That we got our driverless cars here. I can get my groceries delivered in like 20 minutes to my door. Like we're getting a lot of that happening. Here, we're seeing a lot of that advantage. So, really cool. All right. Well, you know what is not being delivered to me by driverless cars just yet? Slice on Broadway. Our good friends feeding the podcast, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza. Check them out there over at sliceonbroadway.com. 3 locations. I was just hanging out last week. Actually, went down there for a wrestling show down at Stage AE. And, of course, we had to hang out over at Slice on Broadway over there at PNC Park. And you can also check out their other locations here in Beachview. Beachview's open, guys. There's no more construction. Well, at least in Beachview, there's everywhere else still.
The train's going to be back soon. It's
going to be back next week. I missed my train. Hearing my train from my bedroom used to be the most soothing thing. But I'm 3 blocks away, so it's still at the soothing level. And of course, they're down on the main street in Carnegie, PA. Check them out. They've been supporting the show for a while now, fueling the podcast night here at Sorgatron Media and Mayhem Studios here in Pittsburgh. So hit up PGH_Slice on the Twitter, Slice on Broadway on the Facebook and the Instagram. All right, so let's see what else we got there. Let's go around the horn. Cindy, what do you want to talk about next?
I would like to talk about the terror that I have. Well, it's not really terror. But so Comcast says they're going to have cell phone service.
I saw that.
That was my reaction as well. I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, will that be a 4-play bundle? They've got these 3-way bundles now. Can I do that instead of if the only reason I would do it is if it gave me a discount. But even then, I think their service on everything else is so poor, it's very hard for me to imagine wanting to use them. I rely on my cell phone for everything. It's the worst idea I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like your cable TV, right? Where you need it, but if it goes out, it's not going to, sort of cripple your day. Whereas if your phone isn't working and you can't get a hold of a tech or someone, to answer your phone, that's a pretty big risk to take with a company that may not have the greatest track record.
So
that's my kind of thinking on it. But at the same time, it turns out that there are other cable providers in the country that are not Comcast. And so what I wonder is if, some of the local ones, like I recommend very highly the Armstrong group of companies up there, Butler Way and other parts of our fine region. And they're a terrific company. Now, so does this open the door for them to offer cell phone service? Because if it does, I would go for that in a heartbeat. I would believe in that. So maybe if this is just maybe the first of, because they're the big gorilla, if Comcast can do this, then maybe some of the other cable providers will be able to as well.
This looks like it's going to be fairly regional to where Comcast is for their cable customers, because it's saying it's going to be an interesting hybrid. Sounds a little bit like the Google Fi program, where it's going to be a mix of the cellular towers and actually, like you're already sharing, a little bit of your internet, through the routers, and anybody can log in if you have the newer Xfinity routers. It looks like it's going to take that on. It's basically going to work off of the Wi-Fi coming from people's homes. So, I don't think it's going to be a direct competitor. It's just kind of one of those interesting.
I wonder, we think of it, we maybe, the group of us here tend to be among the people who travel from city to city a lot, or, go back to the home, the homeland of Boston if you're Kim. But, I think there's a lot of population that really doesn't travel very far from home. And so it would be a better fit for folks like that, where, you're almost all the time, you're within, almost, spitting distance of your house. So it makes sense to me that that's their target market.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if they're really going to kind of lean on this Wi-Fi thing. Like, it's got to be a pretty tremendous saturation point in the handoffs between Wi-Fi's if you're like driving in a car or riding in a car maybe, or on a bus or something like that. Like, I don't know how useful that's going to be. Maybe it's just going to roam on everything else. In related news, because I do mention it here, AT&T, stop making me try to sign up for DirecTV. Seriously, guys. It's getting ridiculous. I get like 3 things a week from these guys. And so the paper, wow. But anyways, it's interesting. I guess in the long run, it is good to have another big cell phone service come up.
More competition is always better.
More competition is always better, which is weird, with Comcast in the equation. But there you go. All right. Let's go around to Kraus. You got a couple in here. What do you want to talk about? Oh, he's on the mute. I think you're muted. No, something else is going on there.
Oh, dear.
Uh-oh. Turn off and turn it back on again. Uh-oh.
I can jump in while he's resetting.
Go ahead.
So I went last week to the Online News Association conference in Denver, Colorado, which was beautiful because Denver is just a beautiful city. And it was really fascinating because this is a group of, this is journalists who are all online focused, online oriented, really into the tech, every tech gadget you can possibly think of. And there was a lot of discussion about how virtual reality and augmented reality could be and will be used for news reporting, in the future. And so everyone's walking around kind of testing out, CNN's virtual reality goggles and talking about using chatbots and, artificial intelligence to do news gathering and do news reporting. So it was really interesting to see all the different things that people are, considering virtual reality for. It's not just, playing World of Warcraft and, staying up till 4 a.m. gaming, which is also fine, but that there's real world implications for, recreating a situation, that to show, instead of taking a video or showing like a reenactment or a pie chart or something, you can actually use some virtual reality to recreate a situation, whether it's a crime scene or whether it's an event that happened. And so it was really interesting just to hear all the different ways that people are thinking about using not just virtual reality, but augmented reality, so that you're actually changing the experience somewhat for the person viewing it than the original experience. So that was actually I was definitely in the future there in Denver last week, and it was really a very cool, cool to see that there's so many people in journalism trying to figure out this brave new world, that we're not, sort of rolling over and dying, that there's a lot of potential for all this technology and really cool things going on, smart people trying to figure out, how do you make the news experience better? How do you make it so that people want to, listen to your podcast or watch your video or get immersed in your interactive? So virtual reality and augmented reality will be very, very big parts of news media going forward if this conference is any indication.
So does this seem like it is kind of moving, like kind of the storytelling focus from just telling how things are to more showing?
It's definitely more of a show instead of just tell. But I think it's going to be a combination. It's not just going to be, hey, here's a video, sit passively and watch it. It's going to allow for more interaction and more reaction, for readers and listeners and viewers. They'll be able to feel more part of the news experience. And, whether or not people want that, I think remains to be seen. How involved they want to get in being placed in the middle of a crime scene, virtual reality scenario. And I think the other problem is, one, the headsets are still a little bit clunky to wear. So how do you get past that user experience, right? Which is not, unique to journalism, but also the whole idea of what are the ethical concerns behind it? What are the ethical, there's a whole host of, potential problems when reporting the news in a way that is could be potentially so visceral and so,
Right.
in your face that it may change the actual experience for the user. How do we want people to absorb the news and absorb journalism? I think it's really the question.
Visceral is exactly the word I was thinking of when you were talking about that. And that, fact checking is already so hard.
Yeah.
And fact checking a world like, I believe this is true because I was there. Well, you weren't.
Right.
You weren't there. You were in a recreation of it.
Right.
In such and such a case, you think of all the cops type shows. Well, I saw him. He did this. Well, you didn't really see it.
Yeah. You saw the edited version of the video that they put together. You weren't actually there. So, yeah.
And it is interesting, when you're showing these experiences with virtual reality. It was actually part of the discussion. We had a pod camp about 360 and VR because we had a Chris Whitlatch had actually brought the Planned Parenthood thing, and we talked about how parts of it were acted, and it's a 360 video, so you get to turn your head in around all the actors basically. And it was supposed to be the experience of what it's like to go to for the person going to Planned Parenthood, and when it gets to the point where like they're getting yelled at, that turns into a CG animation, and it's very it looks like a video game at that point, right? And we're like, that seems like an interesting choice. Why did we skip to that? And it is that idea of you can't show something too extreme, especially something like a nonprofit that's trying to educate and not scare. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not entertain.
Right, and not entertain. But so there's like a line apparently of, you need to bring them to the edge of it without shocking them, basically, to get the desired effect, as, of course, a nonprofit wants to, and the education, hopefully fundraising most likely, right? And I'd imagine the news side, I would think, needs to be along the same trajectory as that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. And just sort of think of all the possibilities. You don't put coarse language, in a newspaper. There's standards and guidelines. So what are the standards and guidelines going to be for virtual reality? Are you going to show, a scene where there's this is a murder, or if there's, a violent situation? How much of that do you show? How much of that do you, refrain from showing? And then who chooses? Those are the questions that newsrooms will have to sort of grapple with. Because the one speaker I was listening to who was just kind of controversial about some of the things she was talking about, but she was saying, how do we ensure that we don't go down the path of desensitizing people to these experiences and to this level of violence? If you're really in real world recreated, but still based on very real violence. How do people, when you're immersed in it, it's less shocking the more you're immersed in it, right? So how do you draw that line, or how do you figure out how do you avoid that? And maybe you can't, but keeping people so that it's still shocking to them. It should be shocking to see something that violent, right? So how do you ensure that you're not crossing the line and making it so that it seems commonplace or it seems sort of mundane?
Right. Or on the other side of things, you could be like London Fashion Week, where they have you do augmented reality over near naked models that they had in the store window as basically living mannequins. This caught my attention this week for obvious reasons. But hey, it's something different than trying to catch your Pokemon, right? Yeah. So, Ron, are you back with us?
I hope so.
Yeah. Welcome back to land of the
Thanks.
podcast.
I don't know what happened there. So, how is this? And I might have missed part of the conversation while I was working on the headset, but since I didn't have a chance to talk about it, I need to ask. So, why are we recreating news? Wouldn't this just take the VR camera and replace, the guy standing with the camera and the reporter reporting? It could be that person all at one time.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, potentially that could be a situation eventually when the virtual reality, technology is good enough to broadcast, quotes. But, obviously, speaking of a situation where, a lot of times as a reporter, you're coming to a story after the things have happened, and you're recreating it by talking to witnesses and talking to the police and talking to. So this would be. They use an example of a situation where there's a story of a guy who was waiting in line outside a homeless shelter on a very hot day to get in, and they cut off. There was too many people, so that he was not going to be allowed to get in, and he fainted and collapsed on the sidewalk, and I think he actually died. And so, obviously the reporter who's reporting on this wasn't at the scene. So how do you recreate this? She could have written a story and talked to witnesses, probably taken a photo of, the building where it happened, or talked to some people there. But they went to the step of recreating in virtual reality, so it looked like The Sims, right outside this building, and they actually, recreated the scene as it was told to them. They actually had some audio that from the actual incident that they used to, sort of augment it. But you could see that as a situation where, at what point do we stop showing this because the guy collapses on the sidewalk and has a seizure? So, if you're going to recreate an event to help people understand what happened more fully than just a written word or photographs after the fact, you can see the sort of potential for that and the implications for how much do you show, how much do you recreate.
Okay, I understand that now. I missed that part of the conversation, so.
That's good. Ron, let's bring it around here. You have an article in here that actually kind of pairs nicely with our Uber conversation earlier with Lyft.
Yep, and that's where I was trying to go when my headset wasn't working. Lyft has I guess it's a 20 or 24. What did they said? It was, it was part of the company's 10-year plan that basically private car ownership is going to go away. And I have to be honest with you, I am all on board for this. Mm-hmm. I own a car that sits on my side street, and it's lucky if it moves once a week. My wife drives to work every day. I take the Port Authority, thank you, for the buses. And for me owning that car, it probably costs me more money per year than I actually get back from it. So having the idea of having this vehicle that I could just pull out my phone and say, you know what, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I'm going to need a car for 3 hours. And it shows up at my front door and takes me where I need to go. And then when I get home, it drives away. Sign me up.
Yeah. I stepped towards this today, Ron. I had a scheduling thing come up, and I have a second car. You've been here. You see, I have the second car that's been sitting there, and it has no official license plate or anything like that, and it needs a new starter. And I was like, let's save a couple bucks on the insurance while we're waiting, and I just never got back around to it, right? And it's a car that's paid off, and I own it, right? And I haven't, but it still costs X amount to get it onto the road and stay on the road legally, right?
Yep.
So again, like something came up, and I realized like 2 days in advance, oh, we're doing this in 2 days, okay, and oh, the car's involved in something else, right? So I took the Port Authority downtown today and got myself a zip card.
I love Zipcar. Yeah, I mean, I love the concept of Zipcar. I use it all the time. I will say their customer service is sometimes a little spotty. But yeah, we use Zipcar all the time because we don't have a second car. So
I feel slightly bamboozled because there's a Zipcar lives here sign at the top of the hill 3 blocks away where everything else is.
Thank you.
It does not have a Zipcar yet.
Yes, well, it was for a while because we use that one all the time because we don't live that far from Beechview.
Right.
I think during construction, they moved the car because it was hard to get in and out of that lot where it was.
Okay.
Because it was there. It was there for months. It was super convenient. I only had to get to Beechview instead of going all the way downtown. But that's one big complaint we always have about Zipcar is, we use that car frequently. It would have been nice to have a heads up that, hey, we're moving this car. It's not going to be available anymore. So that's one of the things I think, they don't do a great job communicating with customers until there's a problem. So that would be my sort of only caveat about using Zipcar. We have found it to be a great savings because the cost of your membership includes gas, includes maintenance, and includes, like a parking pass if there's a garage that it's parked in. So it's very convenient. We use it a lot more in Boston because there were just more Zipcars there. And when I was in Denver this past weekend, I kind of blew off the last half day of the conference and I wanted to explore Denver, but I had flown there. I wasn't going to rent a car just to drive around for an afternoon. So I got a Zipcar there. So it's good for that kind of short, if you want to just go to the grocery store, you just want to, you have a quick trip, you don't really want to go downtown and pay for parking. I would say the drawbacks are you have to return the car to the same place where you pick it up. And you're at the end of the day, you're relying on other people. It's really car sharing. So you're relying on other people to make sure there's gas in the car, to return it on time, to not wreck into a wall before you have to, before you get your turn. So there's always those sort of minor snafus that will pop up. And I think, Zipcar could be a little bit more responsive as far as, getting problems solved or helping you when there's a crisis. But I think overall, I recommend the model. I recommend the idea. I wish we had more than one car sharing company in Pittsburgh.
Right.
That would be nice if we could have a little competition there. So I think it might improve Zipcar.
It even seems competitive.
And part of that, I've been leaning toward this whole thing. I have a very elderly car, debating whether I
don't we all?
The poor old thing. It's adorable, but it's old. So I've been leaning toward this whole Zipcar thing because I drive less and less. I can take the bus to work. I can walk to work. And then if I need to go to a client thing, sometimes I even ride with just a coworker. Yeah. But there are times when I need to get up to Butler. So, but you said that they cover gas and yet the other person has to put the gas in. So what's
there's a card. So there's a little card in the car and it charges to, you swipe it at the gas pump just like you would with a regular credit card. And then but you're responsible for making sure the car has gas in it, but you don't have to pay for the gas yourself. And there's rules about, so if I bring a car back and for the next person it's only got a quarter tank of gas, then I get fined. So there's incentive to make sure you don't,
and even their role is please at least have a quarter tank of gas, basically. Yeah. So it looks interesting. And I was just thinking about this. You know what put Zipcar in the back of my head that really timed out well for this? I saw the Zipcar get in a fender bender about a week and a half ago down in the Strip. So, of course, it was emblazoned and it pulled out, and it's like, man, I hope they paid for their accident insurance. And I did. And I did when I signed up.
I did.
Please say it was while you were in the autonomous vehicle.
No. It was actually for another event I was working in the Strip a couple Sundays ago.
Like a car, what do they call it, where the cars hit each other? Demolition derby between Uber and Zipcar. They're battling it out there.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if the driver's car hit the Zipcar or vice versa? Just like it just really comes down really comes down to. But yeah,
Imagine that lawsuit. I mean, who wants to
yeah,
pay
seriously.
that insurance claim?
Seriously, I think all of us are in very fortunate inner city kind of situations here, where we do have depending on where you live, pretty decent Port Authority, Zip, Lyft. I'm sorry, Zipcar, Lyft, Uber, and hell, even the Z Trip seems half decent. I haven't used it, but it sounds like they're doing a lot there to make that a lot easier to use too, which is basically our yellow cab. So yeah, there's a lot less reason to get your car on the road, and I'm trying to embrace that even more so, and we'll see. And it's nice to have that choice, because I say, okay, who's got a coupon code because the Steelers won this time? Yeah, we'll try Uber again. So you get to play that a little bit too. So hey, they're doing on their end. I've seen a Lyft driver end their drive with me and boot up the Uber app to look for the next drive. And have both stickers.
Have two apps going at once. Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, guys, it's time for us to cut out of here. Ron, I know there is an event coming up with some news that you had marked in here.
Yes, the Google phone launch. Well, the supposed, I guess they're going to call it the Pixel. That's the latest rumor. So October 4th, we should be seeing some new devices from Google. It's kind of interesting, the little video that they did. I love this. The "Come and Get Your Love" was the song in the background. I just thought it was great. Very well done little piece of video there. And so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. One of the things I would say, as a person who works with cell phones on a daily basis, like Apple, Android is the most direct source to Android, and which means you get the monthly, daily, weekly updates directly from them without having to go through the carriers like some of the others, like LG and Samsung. They're dependent on the carriers to push those updates out. So it's always better to get as close to the source as you can. That's my statement.
And we started this, I think, last week, but stories we did not get to. Doug Durda let me know about Google Trips is an app you get for both platforms that you can actually, like if you're in Inbox or Gmail, that pulls together all your plane and hotel info, and it'll give you actually download maps if you're going to a different country. Just in time for me to try it out in Thailand in a couple months, so we'll see how that goes. GoPro's 8 Hero 5 cameras are cloud connected and natively waterproof. I'm excited for that. Also, the drone that they have going along with that, you can attach GoPros to. GoPro themselves are putting it out. A jet-powered hoverboard is real, and yes, it's been crashed over on The Verge. We talked about that on my Awesome Things of the Day over on the Facebook Live, so check that over on the Facebook page. An anti-Sim City game challenges players to make money in real estate among racial and historical dynamics. Wow, that's awesome, Sydney. Is this the one where the gamers beat like some like planners to solve a problem? Yeah, I think no. There's another one I think about like genomes or something like that came out this week. So
I don't know. This is a little bit older. It's a CMU associate professor or researcher, I think.
Mm-hmm. Also, Twitter's character count rules have changed. I know @replies and like stuff like pictures, I think, and are getting rolled into there. So we'll play around with that and see if that actually helps us or not. And half of the U.S. smartphone users download no apps, according to a report that you put in here as well. I can believe that, because once somebody wanted to put Square on their phone, and I'm like, cool. Hey, your Google Play Store isn't set up. How long have you had this phone? 6 months? Oh. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Sorry.
Like 13% of the users of smartphones download all the apps. So we are the 13%.
We are the 13%. Well, and of course, please check out everything else. We have, like I said, awesome chats. The pod crawl is coming up. We're doing a Sorgatron Media Coffee up at Work Hard Pittsburgh here on October 1st, and we're actually doing an N64 No Mercy video game tournament as a part of Wrestling Mayhem Show with our friends Looking for Group over in Brookline. Lots of events, lots of awesome stuff. I'm going to be talking intro to podcasting tomorrow night. That's why I need a zip car so I can get to that on time. I'll actually probably take the zip car back to its home downtown and take a lift to the thing so I can make it on time. We are going to connect all the dots. I'll take the Port Authority to go down and get the car, and so this will
figure out a
go.
way to work an airplane into this scenario, you would, I think, hit all possible modes of transportation.
That's some other time. I've done enough airplaning for this year. But anyways, so go check out all the events. All listed over the Facebook page under events as well. Thank you so much, Kim Lyons. Where can people find you?
You can find me usually on Twitter, unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe Social Kimley. Usually, you can find me there, or I'll find you there.
Awesome, Cynthia Klosky.
I also am on Twitter. I'm Cynthia Klosky on Twitter. Can I say something just real quick that we're hiring? Is it okay to mention that? My company Shift is hiring a web developer and some other kind of roles. So visit our website and work with us.
There you go. There you go. And Ron Krause, Crazy Krause on the Twitter.
That's me. Also, Ron Krause on Facebook, if anybody cares that much.
Check out his Google photo, and then also critique it like Chilla did.
Exactly.
I'm over at Sorgatron on the Twitter, Sorgatron.com, SorgatronMedia.com. Let's do just about everything that we're doing these days, one way or another. And follow me on those things and get pictures of stuff we're getting into over on the Instagram, Sorgatron everywhere, on whatever social media is worth being on. I probably was that on Plurk back in the day as well. Thank you, everybody. AwesomeCast.net, Patreon.com/AwesomeCast. Thank you to our awesome chat room, the new awesome chat room at live.awesomecast.net every Tuesday at 7 p.m. You have been our awesome audience. Have an awesome week. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.
Sure.
Good time as ever.
All good. Alrighty, so
Sorry for the failures.
no, that's fine. Hey, technology.
Amen.
Hey, technology. But no, that was real good. Although partway through, I realized my new little title I put in the upper corner that's supposed to be the Patreon address says patreon.awesomecast. So that's not going to work.
Oops.
Yeah, so we'll fix it in post.
Fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post and for next week. So, yep. Thank you so much, guys.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
All right, see ya. And thank you, chat room. Thank you, live stream, joining us. We'll see you guys next time. And the clean, edited, fix that thing in the corner version will be up here probably in a couple hours.